Have you noticed how suddenly it feels like everyone is driving expensive cars? Brand new SUVs, trucks that look like they came straight out of a commercial, shiny sedans with all the upgrades? And all this happening in neighborhoods where, let's be honest, nobody should realistically be driving a $50,000 car. You look around, look at your own bank account, and a little voice in your head goes, wait, something's not adding up here. Because when you actually talk to these people, the story is completely different. They're making close to minimum wage, they're earning $2,500, maybe $3,000 a month, they're complaining about gas prices, groceries, rent going up. But somehow they're cruising around in a vehicle that costs more than some houses in small towns. And then the question everyone thinks, but almost nobody says out loud. How on earth are they pulling this off? Did they discover some secret strategy, some hidden hack the rest of us don't know about? Or is there something happening in America that nobody talks about but is right in front of our eyes? Because let's be real for a second. It makes zero sense that so many people with low income are driving cars that are, no joke, worth 50 times more than what they manage to save each month. If that doesn't make sense, it's because there's a catch. And today, we're going to break it down in a way nobody explains. And hey, if you're trying to level up your financial life for real, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and let's grow together.
The truth is simpler than it looks, and honestly, a lot more disturbing. People aren't buying the car. They're buying the monthly payment. And the entire system, banks, dealerships, automakers, is built around that exact mentality. Here in the United States, you don't actually need real money to buy things anymore. You don't need to save. You don't need an emergency fund. You don't need to think long-term. You only need one thing: credit approval. That's all that matters. That's why someone earning $2,500 or $3,000 a month, barely enough to cover rent, groceries, and gas, can walk into a dealership and drive out with a $40,000, $50,000, sometimes even $60,000 car. From the outside, it looks like success, but it's not success. It's debt dressed up as success. Dealerships know exactly how to close the deal. They don't ask if you can afford the car. They ask if you can afford the monthly payment. And that's where the trap begins. To make the payment fit, they stretch the loan as far as possible: 48 months, 60 months, 72 months, and now, more common than ever, 84-month loans. 7 years of your life tied to the same debt. And people always think the same thing. It's just this amount per month. I can cover it. But what they don't realize, what no one explains, is that after all the interest, fees, add-ons, warranties, and hidden charges, they'll end up paying almost double the original price of the car. A $50,000 car doesn't cost $50,000. Over the years, it turns into a $90,000 or even a $100,000 commitment. And they're paying all that for something that loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. And that's only the beginning. The car payment is just the first hit, because a nice car comes with nice expenses: higher insurance, higher registration fees, more expensive maintenance, more expensive parts, more expensive tires. And with today's gas prices, you already know. It's like every piece of the car was designed to drain more money from your wallet. The truth is, a lot of people aren't buying transportation. They're buying a financed lifestyle. They're buying the feeling of, I made it. And that feeling comes with a price, a big one. When you put it all together, you realize people aren't buying freedom. They're not buying comfort. They're not buying a better life. They're buying a perfectly packaged financial trap. A long, exhausting, heavy debt that looks like a victory, but becomes a monthly burden that follows you for years.
The biggest problem with car financing in the US isn't just the monthly payment. It's what that payment does to your entire financial life without you even noticing. Because once someone locks themselves into a $600 or $700 monthly car payment, which is actually the national average today,
It creates a domino effect that touches everything. Suddenly, there's no money left for savings, no room for emergencies, no chance to invest, no flexibility to breathe. Every paycheck already has a destination before it even hits the bank. And here's the wildest part. People think their money is gone because life is expensive. But in reality, most of it is trapped in depreciating assets they didn't actually own. The bank does. Let me paint a picture. A person earning $3,000 a month finances a $45,000 car with a $650 payment. Add insurance, gas, maintenance, and taxes. Now we're talking over $1,000 a month just to keep the car running. 1/3 of their income going into a product that loses value every single day. And here's the psychological trap, the part no one talks about. Once someone gets a nice car, they start wanting a lifestyle that matches the car. It becomes a chain reaction. A nicer car needs nicer clothes. Nicer clothes need nicer restaurants. Nicer restaurants need nicer weekends. And before they know it, they've built an entire lifestyle around impressing people who aren't even paying attention. That's how people get stuck. Not because they're irresponsible, not because they don't work hard, but because the system is designed so that the moment you upgrade one part of your life, everything else becomes more expensive too. And it doesn't stop there, because cars get old. New models come out, the neighbor upgrades, coworkers upgrade, and suddenly the car you're paying for doesn't feel nice anymore. So what do people do? They trade it in, roll over the remaining debt into a new loan, and start the cycle all over again. It's called negative equity, and today millions of Americans are driving cars that are worth less than what they owe. Imagine that. You're stuck with a car you can't sell, can't get rid of, and can't finish paying anytime soon. It's like being underwater and still digging. This is why so many Americans feel broke. Even when their homes look good, their cars shine, and their lifestyle seems impressive on Instagram. Because behind the scenes, they're carrying car loans, credit card debt, personal loans, buy now, pay later payments, and student loans. Everything financed, everything parceled, everything owned by someone else. And that's the real trap. You look rich on the outside, but you're financially suffocating on the inside.
At some point, you have to stop and ask yourself one powerful question. What is this car actually taking away from my life? Most people never stop to think about that. Because when we talk about money, the conversation always revolves around how much it costs per month. But the real price is what you fail to achieve because of that monthly payment. Let's break this down in a way most people never do. When someone signs up for a $650 or $750 monthly car payment, they're not just committing money, they're committing time, years of their life, months and months of work that could be building wealth, but instead are being used to pay for something that loses value. Think about it. If the average American invested $700 a month instead of putting it into a car, in 10 years, with a conservative 8% annual return, that turns into roughly $130,000. In 20 years, over $400,000. That's literally the difference between retiring comfortably or working until you're 70 because of a car you don't even own anymore. And meanwhile, a finance car only does one thing very well. It becomes worth less every single year. But there's something even more serious, something that hits the emotional side of your financial life. When you lock yourself into long-term debt, you lose freedom. With a high monthly payment, you can't accept a better job that pays less in the beginning. You can't move. You can't start a business. You can't travel. You can't take advantage of unexpected opportunities because everything in your life starts revolving around one thing, the car payment. It's almost like having an extra boss, silent, invisible, constantly reminding you, hey, you owe me. And here's another brutal truth almost no one talks about.
A lot of people in the United States aren't broke because they earn too little. They're broke because they send their money to everyone except themselves. The bank gets paid. The insurance company gets paid. The credit card company gets paid. The government gets paid. Everybody gets paid except you. And this happens because when you finance lifestyle, you destroy your ability to build wealth. Cars, clothes, electronics, gadgets, all of that loses value. But investments, businesses, skills, financial education, all of that increases your value. And that's where the game changes. Because the moment you realize that your monthly payment isn't just a number that fits in your budget, but a silent thief stealing your future, you start looking at the car differently. Not as a symbol of success, but as an expensive distraction pulling you away from your biggest goals. And when that finally clicks, your financial life truly begins to change.
So here's the moment where everything shifts. Because after everything you've seen today, there's one question only you can answer. Do I want to keep living trapped in payments, or do I want to start building real freedom? The truth is, no one becomes wealthy by accident. Wealth doesn't happen because you got lucky, because the dollar dropped, or because something magical happened one day. Wealth is built through smart decisions repeated for years. And many times the first smart decision is simply to stop throwing money away. And here's the part most people don't have the courage to admit. You don't need to drive the perfect car right now. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. You just need to do what most people don't. Think about the future before the present. You want freedom? Start small. Buy a used, reliable car that doesn't destroy your budget. Pay cash if you can, or finance as little as possible. And the money you save, that's where the real game begins. Invest consistently, build an emergency fund, pay off debt, increase your income, buy assets, not liabilities, and little by little, you start gaining something far more valuable than a brand new car. You gain options, you gain peace, you gain control, you gain the freedom to choose where to work, where to live, when to move, when to travel, and most importantly, when to say no. And here's something nobody tells you. When you're financially strong, you can have any car you want. The difference is that at that point, it won't trap you. It won't steal your future. It won't stop your growth. It will just be a detail, not your identity. At the end of the day, the car you drive doesn't define who you are, but the financial choices you make, those absolutely define where you're going. So if you want to continue this journey with me, if you want to understand how money really works, if you want to build freedom instead of payments, subscribe to the channel. Here, you learn how to play the money game, not be controlled by it. Because while a lot of people are busy trying to look rich, we're here learning how to be rich. And that's the difference that changes everything.